First one, we have three part. First one is the first part is the controller login. Second part is the controller maintenance, and the last part is controller update. So this is the operations that I really need to know if you want to configure or maintenance, or in the future we do the update. So how we can log in our controllers? In our controllers, there's one management port. So this IP address is 10.250.2.250.252. So through this management port, you can log in. And also they have other port, like the console port is used to for the debugging. We are not using this port to the configuration. And also the USB. Right now, the main purpose of the main usage for the client or for us engineers, the USB is used for the password recovery. If you forget your password, you can use the USB here. And also the service port. For the service port, it can be configured in a layer 2 or layer 3 interface. And then you can connect to the network for the data forwarding. To log in the controllers, you only need to configure your laptop or your PC IP address into the same subnets with the 10.250.2.250.252. The same subnets with this controller. Then you can log in through HTTPS, and the default password is admin and admin. Here's just a reminder. Sometimes if you cannot log in the controller, maybe because the people, maybe the previous people, they changed the service port, HTTPS port of this controller. That sometimes the reason you cannot log in through this HTTPS, the 10.50.2.250.252. So one possible one method so you can solve this problem, you can download port scanner tool and connect to this Ethernet port. Again, what is the service port is opening, and you can try. Because sometimes the default, we know the HTTPS service port is the 443, right? And then some people maybe change to another port. You can use that the scanner to scan. So defaultly it's 443. So that you just type HTTPS is okay. If there's some, if the HTTPS port to be changed, you need to add another service port. For the maintenance, one thing is to switch on and switch off our controllers. So at the back of this device, there has a switch. If you want to switch on, you just did a short press, just click, and not click, just the short press this button, and then it will be on. If you want to turn off this controller, you long press this button. So long press, just press until the power light of the device is turned off. So the device will turn. For the controller's password recovery, it means that in the future, maybe our controller or client's controller password is be forget it. So we need to recover the password. So we can use a USB. We can use a USB, and the format is a FAT32. You can check this one in the USB disk property. You check in there. Make sure it's the FAT32, and then in this USB you create a file, txt file. You just named it as reset password. Reset password. And with this USB, you insert into the USB port of the controller, and then you restart the controller. So after the controller finishes the restart, the password will change back to admin. So you can use this to log in the controller. This process takes around 2 minutes. And then if you want to do the restore, just the reset of the controllers, you want to erase all the configuration of this controller. One method is just you restore from the web console, from the web page, from WebGUI. And from WebGUI, you can reset our controller. But sometimes, if this controller is like because of the wrong configuration, you cannot log in the controller, and also you cannot just because uh, you cannot log in the controller, so you want to restore it. So you want to erase all the configurations. So right now you can use this loop line to insert in the ETH1. So the question is how we can make a loop line. Loop line is you just find a patch cord, find a patch cord, and cut one hand, and then you use the um, you darken, you connect that the supply of that cable 1 to 3 and 2 to 6. So you can say that the example is like you can connect the orange to gray and the white orange to the white gray. So after you do this connection, you got one loop line. So you connect this loop line to the ETH0. So after this, you can restore the controller. And now let's go into the backup and the restore. So how we can do the backup? Because after we finish a project, we need to back up the configuration. So how we can do it is in the maintenance backup and the restore. In here, you download the configuration. This first one, you can download it and save it to your computer. So one day, if the controllers needed have some needed to recover its configuration, so you can just use the file in your computer. And also this configuration you can schedule automatically be set to your FTP servers, but you need to configure FTP servers to our controllers. So for example, every 12 a.m. they will back up the configuration file and send to the server. And if you want to restore the configuration, it's in the restore configuration. You just once again can upload the file that you save in the servers or your computers, and also you can restore the controllers from the controller snapshot. Because for our controller, you can save it save its configuration on time, but you don't need to download it. Just so you can choose that. For example, right now something is going wrong with my controller because of the wrong configuration. I want to recover the configuration in yesterday, so I choose that uh, configuration in that timestamp. Then we will have the configuration of the controller yesterday. And the last one is restore to the master series, restore to the factory default. This is the way we can reset the controller in this web UI. Now let's see how we can do the controllers update. Before we update the controller, first thing we need to do is check the license. If the license is valid. For our overseas products controller, it has 3 years validate time. So after 3 years, it will become expired. So if the license is expired, you cannot do the update. So you need to renew the license. For this one, we call it the update service. So after 3 years, if the client or need license, you need to contact us. And also need to check the controller, the AP's IP address. If it is correct. Why we need to check this one? I give example. This one is just in a scenario like you put the controller and the AP in the different subnets. For example, just give one example is a remote deployment. Deployment. The controller is in the headquarter and the AP is in the branch. So when you do the update, you double confirm the IP address you configure to the AP is correct. If that IP address is correct, so after you finish the updated controller, the AP can find this controller with this IP address and download the firmware and synchronize and download it from the controller. So the controller and AP will have same firmware. If this IP address here is wrong, and then when you update the controller, the AP cannot download the firmware from this controller. So the AP in the branch cannot go online after the configuration. So this one is the thing we need to confirm before we do the update. And also we need to check the online device standards, because for example we have the 10 APs before we update and 2 controllers is online. So after we finish update, we need to wait for these devices to be online again. If they only just 5 AP or 1 control switch is online, so we need to do the troubleshooting why these 2 AP or why that 1 switch is not online. Maybe we need to do extra works for this updating, so we can know if we updated is successfully finished. And also we need to step 4 is the confirm the KB package. KB package we also call the patch, because for some reasons if the client need to have a special function, we need to do the customization. And then if also sometimes the firmware have encounter some issue, we will have a KB package or patch to solve this problem. After we solve this problem, there has a patch for this controller, but this patch is related to this specific firmware versions. So right now, if you want to do the updating of this firmware, so you need to confirm if this KB package still need, because sometimes if we update the controller, this KB package is no need. So we just roll back it. But sometimes, for example, the special function for the clients, so we need to let Downstream ID to update the KB package also, because if we do the rollback and we do the update with the new version, they don't have the function that customer need. This is also a problem. So for this KB package, as long as the client have this KB package or the patch package, when we do the updating, we should be very careful. And also before we do the updating, we need to download the configuration, backup it. So in case we are failed to do the updating, and so we still have the backup configuration. Maybe the devices is broken while we're doing the updating, so we can still have their configuration. But according to my experience, we have already updated many controllers. There's so far there's no any controller is become broken while I'm doing the updating, but they still have that possibility, so it's better to download it. For this firmware, for for our overseas, we just give you directly. You just contact us and we will give it to you. In English versions, English version's website, we don't have the firmware here. So if you want to download it, you can download it from the Chinese website. But no, we just yearly, uh, if we want you do the update, we will give you the firmware. Also, you can contact me to give you firmware. Here's for the updating. For the updating, this software's language is based on the computer's language. So here, my language, my computer is Chinese. So here's the Chinese language. So when you do the updating, uh, you need to make sure two things. First one, you need the update client. You need to update client. Even our controller on the web page there has update choice, but we prefer we are recommend to use the client updating, because this client update client update almost like a zero issues when you do the updating. For the web updating, they usually encounter the problem. So that's why we don't recommend to update it with the web page. Use the client. So make sure you have this client. Here's the client. And then when you do the update, use the wired connection. Use the wired connection for sure. Sometimes if we use our Wi-Fi, right, we use our controller, and you use the Wi-Fi and connect to the controller, and then you think, okay, right now I can do the update for this controller, but that will bring some issues. If when you do the update, at the middle of the update, the controller will not the Wi-Fi, the signal may be gone. There's not stable. So once the signal is gone, your connection to the controller is lost. So you cannot finish the update successfully. So that's why you need the wired connection and also the update client. So we need to prepare these two things. Why you do the update? Because we're using the client. We're using the client. We're using the updated client. So you can use the F10 to check the updated process. If you press the F10, you can it can show the detail of the updated process, like how many percent, and do we right now is in which steps is backup the file, and it is the checking the license. That will be show very clear. And if there encounter some problem, they will show you that right now we encounter the KB package. There's KB package. We needed to remove it before we do the. We need to roll back before we do the updating. So if you press F10, you can check the updating processing. Okay, this is the first